Присяжнику.
Он ничего не знает об этом.
Мне надо.
Если я руковожу исследованием, мы рискуем жизнью человека. Бегите.
Sputnik is the greatest Russian monster sci-fi horror movie I've ever seen. And it is also the only Russian monster sci-fi horror movie I've ever seen. So there's that. But in all seriousness, this movie is amazing, and I just don't understand why it doesn't get enough praise online. No one talks about it, and I want to make an entire video dedicated to it because I absolutely love monster movies. Monster movies are my cup of tea, man. Okay, like my favorite movie ever is Predator with Arnold. Huge fan of the Alien franchise. The Thing is one of the greatest movies ever made. I mean, I love monsters, and in my Mount Rushmore, I would obviously put Predator, Alien, The Thing. You might call me out on a technicality with The Thing since it's more of like a shapeshifter, like it transforms so it doesn't have a true form. I mean, if we want to get nerdy about it. But if you want like a true monster, then I'd probably put Godzilla next up there. I really love Godzilla growing up. But the fourth spot would be Sputnik. I'm telling you, man, that's how much I love this movie. Now, I rewatched it and it was not as good as I remembered it. There's like a whole subsect of the movie that just doesn't compute in my mind. Like there's a solid 20 minutes of the movie that like doesn't exist in my mind. It's crazy. It just does not exist. So let's talk about it. So the movie starts off in space in 1983 on the Orbiter 4 spaceship with two Russian astronauts who are making their way back to Earth, and they're kind of just like talking with each other, making some small talk. And then we kind of have one important line here where it's like he talks about he has some business in Rostov. He keeps it vague so you can kind of tell it's something that's going to be important, which is ironic because this is the subsect of the movie that I completely forgot about. So keep that in mind. But upon re-entry of Earth's atmosphere, they notice something on the outside of their ship. You just get a quick glimpse of like a creature moving outside the window. You kind of hear it. We then cut to the ship crashing in Kazakhstan, which I might notably add, that's where Borat's from.
What's up with the vanilla face? Looking for somewhere to post up our black asses for the night. So bang bang, skeet skeet, nigga.
But this guy on a horse sees the spacecraft landing, so he goes to investigate, and one of the dudes is completely wrecked from the backside, as if an animal like ate his flesh. It's pretty gruesome and awesome. However, the other astronaut is still alive, although visibly very sick and not in a good state since he's all bloodied and his eyes look like he's possessed by a goddamn demon. Like, what the hell? I think this was an awesome intro. You know, when we talk about horror movies, some of the best ones have their own mini horror short at the beginning, right? Like we talk about It, which is the highest grossing horror movie of all time. That movie begins with its own little mini horror short, which is iconic. More recently, we can talk about Terrifier 3, which also has a brutal opening sequence. But the point I'm trying to make is I really appreciate the opening of this movie. The shots in space were amazing. The little breadcrumbs that they give us when you see the thing moving, but they don't show anything, so we can still have a little bit of mystery. The makeup effects were great because the blood and everything looks so real, and I love the crash landing scene with the eyes that are blacked out. It's just really captivating in my opinion. And rewatching it with my friend from college, he agreed. He was like, that was a great opening. So now let's get into it. We meet our protagonist, who is currently being questioned for her controversial treatment methods in psychiatry, and in the background there's this like mysterious dude who apparently is Colonel Semiradov. God, these Russian names. Semiradov approaches Dr. Tatiana about a patient, and this is where he says he's not part of the health ministry, but he then flashes her a red card, and then I don't know what that means. I mean, is that like the cue to like I'm government or like I'm military? I don't know. He wants her expert opinion, but he won't go any further and says that she must come with him. He tells her that he runs some kind of research institute and that he is interested in, listen up, neuropsychiatry. Bingo, that's why she's there. Cut to now we're on a helicopter and he has taken her to this secret research facility. While on this helicopter ride, she asks to see the medical records of this patient, but he says they haven't prepared one for it. Suspicious.
That's suspicious.
He then asks her if an oral report would suffice, which she nods her head, obviously like there's no other option. He talks to her about the Orbit 4 landing that she read about, and then he claims that they had to sanitize the media reports. They lost radio contact with the crew a day before they landed, and it appears that an incident occurred during that loss of communication. And the patient that they're holding is the commanding officer of that spacecraft, whose name I'm going to butcher. Konstantin Vezhnyakov. That's not bad. That was not bad. Konstantin Vezhnyakov. And he tells her that he is suffering from episodic amnesia. Oh boy, she has no idea what she's in for. They finally land and get in a car which takes her to the research facility, which is in the middle of the desert. And we get to hear the soundtrack for a little bit. The score in this movie is so good. Like, I'll listen to this. I love scary horror music. Dude, it's great music in this movie. Hats off to my friend Oleg Karpachev. Your music is fantastic. They finally reach the facility and they immediately take Tatiana to the patient, where they're like trying to hypnotize him, but obviously it's just not working. So they send Dr. Tatiana in to talk with him and get her opinion. Now this scene, I just get the sense that this dude is just happy to see a woman for once. I mean, the guy was in space with another dude in a very tiny spaceship, I might add, just to land and then be interrogated by more men the entire time. So I just feel like the dude's happy. Anyways, he asks her if she can discharge him, and she responds no, but maybe I can help you. He gives her his mom's phone number and tells her to call her and tell her that he's here and he's okay. Immediately I thought, well, they won't let her do that. She then goes on to say a bunch of mumble jumble that I don't understand, but it's some medical stuff that she examined on him. And she does it in a way very cocky and very arrogant, and she's just like, I want to get out of here. To which the colonel responds, okay, well, helicopter will be here in the morning. But we all know she ain't leaving. She ain't leaving. Now, when they're escorting her to her room, she comes across these people and she asks, who are they? To which the guy says, they are inmates. You're gonna want to remember that. She unpacks in her room and then she finds a phone, to which she tries to make that phone call for him. But as soon as she tries to call Moscow, they say we can only make local calls on base. Later on that night, Colonel Samarodov comes to her room to wake her up, but she's still awake, to which he's like, excellent. They bring her to the experimental room again, and the colonel asks her, when did you have dinner? And she's like, I'm not hungry. He's like, no. When was the last time you ate? And she's like, 4 hours ago. And the entire time I'm just like, what are they talking about? Oh, you'll see. Oh, you'll see. They lock all the doors, and then you see this monitor where you see the Russian astronaut, and he's just having this like insane body reaction, bro. They yeet him across, bro. He gets air yeeted. But then, dude, it is the nastiest scene of just this creature coming out of his mouth, and I'm like, oh, I see why he asked that question now. Gosh, that is disgusting. And then you get to see the creature for the very first time, the symbiote, and god mother damn it, what great CGI. This monster looks badass, dude. I mean, I just love the creature design in this movie. That's literally a big factor as to why I think it's in my Mount Rushmore, dude. I love Predator, the Yauta, whatever, however you pronounce that, the xenomorphs and Alien. Like, the creature designs are very important, and I just love the symbiote in Sputnik. It looks so cool. And like I said, the CGI is so good, because usually people love practical effects way more than CGI, especially for monster movies. Ding ding, the Thing, right? The original one is beloved because it's practical effects. They use a lot more CGI in the remake, and people hated that movie. I personally don't hate it, but it's definitely not as good as the OG. But in this movie, the CGI is spectacular. I mean, we gotta give our hats off to good CGI, because when it works, bro. And when I was watching it with my friend, he's like, but shouldn't the CGI be good nowadays? Like, we have such good technology. Nah. Bro, you can see some of the worst CGI nowadays with Marvel, which is owned by Disney, which has all the money in the world, and their CGI sometimes sucks. So it's not all the same. Not all CGI is created equal. And I gotta say, it works in this movie, man. So Dr. Tatiana goes into the room to get an up-close look at the creature, and it freaks her out. Which, by the way, one more thing, and I promise we'll move on after this from the symbiote, because I'm just like sucking its dick right now. But I really like that it is a smaller creature, and I think that's cool. It's slick, it's fast, it's more efficient, because I feel like in a lot of monster movies, we always try to make it bigger, scarier.
Go big or go home, motherfucker. This is USA, America.
Right? If we use the classic examples that I've been using in this video, Predator, the original, was great, but then you get to the Predator and you get this abomination of a CGI Predator that's humongous, terrible. Alien did it pretty good with the Xenomorph Queen, but then they just get bigger and bigger and then weirder and weirder. So we're always on this like quest to make something bigger, and bigger means scarier, and I don't agree with that. Sometimes something small and slick and fast like this, bro, especially since it's not been overdone, it's amazing. I love that aspect of it. And I will stop now. We will move on. Anyway, she runs into the hallway because she's in shock. The colonel comes to find her to give a little bit of an exposition dump. He tells her that the creature enters and exits without harming its carrier, and that the astronaut has no idea of any of this. That is f***ing crazy. That is wild. Can you imagine just being held against your will and you're supposed to be some like hero because you're an astronaut, and you're like, what is happening? Why are you guys like experimenting on me? What is going on? And he has no idea that there is a alien inside of his body. Wow. He then tasks her with separating the parasite from the host. She then asks him, why did you choose me? And he says, because of the incident with the boy, which is what she was getting questioned for because of her controversial tactics. He needs someone that's going to take risks, and she is the one to do it. That's another thing I love about this movie, is that a lot of people can make that claim that,
it's a ripoff of Alien.
but man, do they do a good job of creating their own path and not really, like, yes, there's an alien. It is inside his body, kind of like an alien with the chest bursters and everything. But they find such a unique way because it's so different that I don't make that comparison, or I don't feel like, man, they're ripping it off from Alien. It is its own movie. I really feel that way. So Dr. Tatiana is doing a bunch of research on the creature because now she's going to be studying it, and she runs into Jan Leonidovich. You see that? And this is where we find out that the astronaut's business in Rostov is because he has a son. But the other important part of this conversation is she asks him what the creature feeds on, and he says the same thing that the astronaut feeds on, which you can clearly tell she doesn't believe that bullshit. Like, huh? Get out of here, bro. He capping. She tells him that she's not after his Nobel Prize or his job, and he is still salty, bro. This dude is salty. We then see her in Colonel Samarodov's office to use the phone to call the orphanage. And this, my friends, is the part that does not exist in my brain. When I saw this movie for the first time, I loved it. And I don't remember this at all. The whole subplot of the kid in the orphanage, I don't recall this at all. To the point that I almost think I saw a different version. I had to have seen a different cut of the film. Or maybe is that bad that my mind just doesn't want to, you know, something like when you have like a favorite fighter or an athlete that you really, really admire, and then they do some stupid shit, but you're like, I like him so much and he's so cool. We can kind of just look the other way. This movie is awesome because there's a part of it that sucks, and I'm just gonna look the other way, and you should too. Anyways, we see this kid in a wheelchair in the orphanage, and he's trying to walk to get the key to get out, I guess, and I'm just like, where are you gonna go? You're in a wheelchair. But then this caretaker woman comes out of nowhere and like gets really mad at her and stops her from running away, and then we cut back to the movie. It's just random like snippets of like stuff like that throughout the movie randomly, and you'll see the end. I can't wait. The next time we see Dr. Tatiana interviewing the astronaut, she's provoking him a lot. Like, she's insulting him aggressively, and you're like, God damn, where's this energy coming from? And then you realize that she did it to test his endocrine profile, because the day before she thought his reactions were a little bit slow, and that can be due to his hormone levels being a little bit low. So she provoked him to have this severe psychological stress in order to like raise his hormone levels. And she's doing all this to find out what the creature inside of him feeds on. And the dude's like, oh my god, bro, it's photosynthesis. Like, we move on from this, bitch. Dude, like, you're not gonna get, this is not what we're here for. She then asked the colonel to recreate a normal life for the patient to create a more realistic clinical picture, to which they actually agree. They give my dude a room, a television, which he like deconstructs and sees that they actually lied about the astronauts landing safely on Earth from their mission. Now that must be infuriating, because now you know you're kept secretly in this facility and nobody knows where you are, and God knows what the government's gonna do to you because you got no power in this. That, my friends, is scary. Now the second time we see them with the creature in the experiment room, Tatiana makes a big discovery. She finds out while playing with him and connecting with him that the creature reacts very fondly for that little toy, which is the astronaut's toy, which then she kind of realized they're both synchronized, if that makes sense. They're both one in unity. She then gets the crazy idea to open the door, to which they say yes to. I'm like, well, they think of her as expendable for sure, because goddamn, that thing's gonna f her up. They give her this like big astronaut suit and she walks in to give it the toy, to which it responds very well. And then she walks to go and touch it, which I think is a little bit ridiculous. What? We've made enough progress today. Get out. But as she's walking towards him, she steps in that like slimy sludge, and then she's trying to like pet it like a pet, like a goddamn idiot, and then she falls down scaring it, and it attacks her. And this thing is fast, dude, but apparently they have these like flashing lights to get it go away, and then like they save her. And this scene is very weird. The colonel walks up straight to the monster just to have this like eye to eye, face to face moment, being like, I'm the fucking boss. I don't know, that was just a weird moment. So the colonel goes to check up on Tatiana in her room afterwards to see if she's okay, and she then reveals to him that the toy reminds the astronaut of the guilt he feels towards his son for abandoning him, which is how she provoked him in that earlier scene I was talking about. She accused him of like abandoning his son. It's pretty harsh. But the point is that the creature reacted to the toy because it means a lot to Vashnyakov. That's his name, so we'll continue saying astronaut from here on out. And she says that the creature and him are a single entity. They share the same conscious mind. And then comes the sinister reveal that the creature like knocks the dude out while it like ventures out of its body during the night and then goes back inside. And she says that every night it spends a little bit longer and longer outside of the body, and eventually it will be like a butterfly sheds its own cocoon and it will no longer need its host. So pretty much, they're on a time clock for this buddy to be dead. So she wants to take him to Moscow to get more people on this to help out. And the colonel's like, bitch, you crazy. He tells her that every day he sends fake reports on his accomplishments to Moscow just to avoid the order to destroy him, because that would obviously kill the astronaut. So they're straight up doing this behind the government's back, which is like top secret. This is Area 51 in Russia, man. This is what we're doing, man. How have they not made an Area 51 movie? They have, which is good. It's a found footage film, but that's a very low budget one. I'm talking about like an epic like this movie where it's like, goddamn, dude, the Russians beat us to it, man. This is Russian Area 51. That's what the name of this movie should be. Anyways, we cut to her running into that other dude again. I'm not gonna say their names anymore. I'm fed up of it, so I'm gonna say this dude, that dude. Get with the program. She asks him again, what do they feed it? And don't tell me it's the same thing they feed the astronaut. And he's like, brother, okay, you really want to know? Come with. So he takes her to where they feed the animal, and like she's not technically supposed to be there, so she's hiding in the truck, and they take her to this like dark place where it's like a huge cage, and they take out the inmates and they feed it to the creature. This is Stranger Things before Stranger Things, man. This came out before Stranger Things. Tell me they did not watch this movie and take inspiration. Come on, man. Season 4, a Russian facility in the middle of nowhere where they feed Russian prisoners to an alien monster. Is that not this movie? Except this movie is way, way darker. Oh my god, this scene is intense, bro. The guy's just struggle. I hate watching people struggle for their lives in their final moments. It is truly unsettling to watch. A great example of that would be Joaquin Phoenix in the movie Return to Paradise. Oof, tough scene to watch. But yeah, same thing here where he's just struggling, and then you just see the creature slowly get out and just demolish him. She ends up throwing up, which almost gives away her position, and then she has this like talk with the dude in the car, telling him he's a coward because obviously she's against this. The way they justify it in the movie is that these people are rapists and child molesters and murderers. And by the way, something I forgot to mention is that this movie is so atmospheric. Like the atmosphere that this movie delivers on is almost second to none. I love the gray shots, the color grading, the facility, the Russian. Obviously the movie being in Russian also kind of adds to the mystique and adds to, I don't know, the immersion. This movie's so good until it's not. Anyways, Tatiana goes into the astronaut's room and asks him to join her on a run. During this run is where she spills the beans about the alien and everything that's going on to him, which obviously he's in shock. He goes back to his room and he doesn't take the pill that like knocks him out. Instead, he crushes it up, and bro, the Riz on this man, he's the Rizzler, bro. He has this smooth, suave charisma to him, and like influences the girl that's supposed to be watching him outside to come inside with him, watch a movie, and he offers her tea, and he actually slipped that pill into that tea, so she passes out and he kind of escapes momentarily. That Russian Riz, bro, the Russian Riz. He told Tatiana before to meet up with him at this certain area, and when they do, he like messes up the camera so that the guy that's watching the monitor comes to fix it and they can walk freely without anyone noticing. That was a genius plan, bro. I remember watching like, what are they doing to the camera? Like, how is this gonna help them? And then I was like, oh. He brings her to see his dead co-pilot's body, which I have no idea how he knew where that was, because isn't this like a top secret research facility? Like, how do they know where this body was? And then they have this like conversation where he's asking her to help him, and it's like, just hold on 2 more weeks, a review board will come and like we'll be okay. And then she's like, it's gonna feed on people for 2 more weeks.
He's like, I can't be responsible for that, and this is back and forth. And it's like, okay,
Why does she care so much that it's feeding people? I mean, they are bad people, yes, but the second thing I want to say is that like, that's not his fault, bro. He's just like, I'm just here, I'm just waking up, I just found out about this thing. How can I be responsible for that? And then we cut back to the gay ass flashbacks of the kid. He gets the key and he's trying to get this package and he's bouncing on a chair and he falls down. And then that's all we get. She then gets taken into Colonel's office to have a little talk with him, and he gives the classic rundown that we need weapons in order for peace and this is a necessary evil, yada yada yada. Let's get to the good stuff. They go back to the feeding session, and this time shit gets wild. They're about to feed it some more inmates, and then she comes into the cage because she thinks that she can communicate with it. But while they're doing all this, the inmate in the background is moving away trying to escape, and he startles it and it just fucks him up. So even though they're making progress, this did not turn out the way they expected, and she can't control it, and he pressures her like, we need results. After that, she talks with the other doctor guy and plans an escape, which I think is an idiotic idea, but you know, it's a movie, we gotta suspend our disbelief. She then takes out one of the guards with like a syringe that has buspironium in it. She meets up with the astronaut, tells him that they're gonna escape, and while they're getting out, the other Doctor Who gives them the keys to the car and decides to stay behind. He does this to make a phone call and pretty much rat them out and give all the information that he knows that is obviously classified. Colonel Samarodov sees on the monitor that they're escaping, so he orders the team to go after them, but not to kill him and only kill her. At the same time, he finds the other doctor and shoots him dead. The military team catches up with them and corners them down, and then this is when he lets the creature out of his body to fucking kill all of them. I love this scene. This scene is badass. We get to see the creature fully extended, and it's like much bigger than you think. It's obviously very slender and slim, but it is bigger in my opinion. I think it's grown. The military squad starts firing at it, but it's like dodging all the bullets because it's so fast and they can't really get it. And it cuts back and forth from the squad fighting the monster to the dude who's controlling it, and you can see his eyes like turn completely black, and he's just like making this intense face throughout the entire scene. But she's able to get him away from the creature into the car and escape. But back to where the soldiers are fighting the creature, there's a bunch of smoke and gas in the air, so you can't really see much. And dude, the colonel has the biggest dick energy I've ever seen. I mean, this dude walks straight into the smoke where the creature is with a gun, knowing that it just took out a whole squad of men with guns, and it didn't do jack shit to it, and he's just going in there by himself. Big dick energy. Not the smartest, but you know, he starts shooting at it, but then it cuts off his hand. But you can still see it's visibly weaker, probably because it's so far away from its host. So we cut back to the two that are escaping in the car, and he is like dying because they're shooting at it. I mean, he is really going through it. She takes him out of the car, which I don't really understand why she did this, but the colonel catches up to them with the creature because obviously they don't want to kill it. They still want to study and control it to use it as a weapon. But she tells them that the creature and the dude have become fully symbiotics, which means he can control it. So he controls the animal to kill the last guards and the colonel right in front of her. Now the CGI shot of half of his face being completely torn off was not the best. After giving my, you know, high praise for his CGI, that one part was not that great. The creature walks right past her and goes right back into him, and then she sees more government cars coming from a distance. She tells him that she would try in Moscow to save him, but he's like, I've gone through enough, and he ends up shooting himself, self-sacrificing like a hero. And I thought this scene was so stupid because it's like, didn't he just take out a whole military squadron with like AK-47s and M16s and it was fine? It just literally survived all of that, and then he shot himself with a bitch ass Glock, and then like he's dead. Like what? I get it, maybe because like the host, he needs the host to stay alive, and if you kill the host, I guess, maybe, I don't know. It was weird. But to me, this is where the movie ends. I did not recall anything past this. This is where the movie ends, but apparently there's more. She goes to Rostov to meet the kid that he left in the orphanage, and she adopts him, I guess. But I guess the big reveal here is that the snippets of the kid in the orphanage that we were seeing earlier in the movie, that was her. That was her all along. Mind blown. I did not like this part of the movie that much. I mean, I don't feel like it adds that much to the story. It's just kind of like sprinkled in the background. It doesn't, like, you could just remove that and the movie would just be fine on its own. I was really confused, so I went on Reddit to see other people's opinions about it, and I do agree with a lot of them. I love this movie. It caught me totally by surprise. So many profound elements to it. Imagery, dialogue, and the music were intense. I agree. Fair enough. Let me try again. I was absolutely loving Sputnik, and by the way, I don't really agree with the reviews that compare this to Alien. I agree with that. Just because an alien is inside a person, it doesn't mean it's alien. I love the mystery of the why and how, trying to figure out if Constantine is in control, what the alien is doing, and why it's latched onto him. And then the end! The reveal that the wheelchair-bound orphan is Tatiana and not Constantine's son, but they didn't really let you know. You just saw a kid and went, what? Huh? Finally, the director said the movie is about trauma. In the end, my original comment, I said that the only trauma in the movie was that which was felt by the audience in the last 10 minutes of the movie. I don't like it. But aside from that, if you can just forget about that, look the other way, man, this movie, like I said, is awesome. The creature design is great. The atmosphere is great. The acting is good. It's overall a good suspense, sci-fi, horror, creature feature that just doesn't stick the landing, and it's so sad. It's so sad. But that's what I have to say. I love this movie. Guys, grow up, man. If you haven't seen a horror movie in a long time, check this one out. I mean, I probably spoiled the entire thing for you if you made it this far. But read the damn subtitles, expand your knowledge a bit into something else, and it's a good movie, man. I love it. Sputnik. I gotta get a Sputnik, like, Funko Pockers, something out here. Anyways, I'll catch y'all on the next one. Deuces.